Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today here I have another mechanical keyboard. And this one is from MIIIW, although it reads MIIIW, but it is pronounced MIIIW. And they are a kind of smaller company that's attached to Xiaomi, I believe. So they're not exactly a fly-by-night crew when it comes to developing accessories and other electronics. So they got in contact with me to take a look at their black IO83, and this is a mechanical keyboard that sports a fair few features, including the standard, QMK VIA compatibility, RGB, a Kale jellyfish switch, which is very difficult to say quickly, and the whole thing is gasket mounted, hot swappable, yada yada yada. So let's see what approximately $200 US can get you for your money. So this comes in 3 colors, a purple, a gold, and a silver. And this is the silver edition that they have sent me here. And as I'm opening this, I should just let everybody know, if you're not familiar with the channel, that even though this sample was provided to me, I'm not receiving any financial compensation for the production of the video, and my review and my opinions of this device are going to remain my own. So now that we got the plastic cut open, let's drop the lid and see what awaits us on the inside. On the inside, we have a very large quick guide, which doesn't appear to fold out. It's just a piece of cardstock. And if we flip that over, we can see that the guide is in both English and I believe Chinese. And then of course we have the keyboard itself, which is a decent weight for 83 keys. And then we have a little accessory box on the inside. And on the inside of that accessory box, what do we have? We have we have a key puller and a key switch puller by the looks of it. If we open up this little baggie. We have a series of spare keys, which I suspect is for changing this over from like a Windows to a Mac. So yeah, it looks like we have a set of alternate arrow keys, and there's some Apple keys as well. We have a USB Type A to USB Type C cable for plugging in, and then we have a much more detailed guide on how to use some of the functions, and it is both in English and in Chinese. Chinese first, English second. So we'll unpack that more if we need it, and there is nothing else left in the box. So let's tidy all of this up and take a look at the keyboard itself. All right, so as we can see, this keyboard here is definitely a shiny beast, and that is because all of these keycaps are actually transparent. So that's the big claim to fame on this fellow, is that they are all see-through, which means that your RGB is going to bleed through rather nicely. So there is one downside I do have to mention, is that when this is turned on and you have very low light, the keycaps are going to be pretty near unreadable. So I'll get some close-up camera footage for you, but as you can see, you cannot tell which key is which. So if you are a touch typist, very confident to know where everything is, you're going to be fine. However, if you do need to know where certain keys are in the dark, you're going to have to swap out these keycaps. That's just not going to work well at all. As I mentioned earlier, if we take a look on the inside of these, we are looking at a jellyfish style switch made by Kale, and that's got about a 38 gram actuation force, and it is a linear, and it's pretty silent. Spacebar definitely has a bit of bounce to it, and the whole thing is gasket mounted, and I'll give you a bit of an illustration on all the different layers that are going into this thing. On the inside, we also have a 4,000 milliamp battery that'll power this thing via Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz. And this is actually really nice to see because they've actually built in the storage space for the receiver and that is fantastic because you and I both know that there are keyboards out there that do not plan for this. We also have switches to move it between Windows and Mac, 2.4 gigahertz or Bluetooth or the cable, and then of course a power button over here. Further surprises on the bottom is that it would appear that we do have screws to open this up, so you could service it and swap out components or customize it to your liking, unlike a few other keyboards we've seen on the channel where this whole unit has been sealed up. We also have feet to put this at either a 0, a 6, or a 9 degree angle. Again, really glad to see that, especially on a keyboard of this price point, because if you don't, then it seems rather silly to be offering this. We also have a series of anti-slip pads all the way around to stop this thing from moving around on a desk, and it most certainly will stop that from happening. In terms of the overall aesthetics, this is a lot nicer to gaze upon. And like I said, this is the gray model or the silver model, and you can also get it with gold accents along the top or all purple accents. But to me, black goes with everything, and with RGB bleed through on all the keys, you can pretty much make this thing look like whatever you want. The one thing that I will point out is that there are some stylized keys here for the I and the O that match the branding of the device itself. So if that is a turnoff for you, you might want to get another set of keycaps to kind of delete those. But overall, this wouldn't look out of place on really too many desks, depending on how you want this thing fired up. So let's go ahead, plug it in, charge it, get the RGB setup going, and find out what the typing experience is like. Alright, after a little bit of digging, I was able to find the JSON file that I was trying to locate to program the keyboard in VIA. It turns out that it's not currently on the MIIIW website, but it was on their Kickstarter page, so I was able to import it no problem. And once we're inside, all of the macros, media, QMK lighting is available and works as one would expect. So we have a series of underglow effects, about, I would say, just over a dozen, that are pretty standard. You can, of course, set up macros, your key maps, the whole 9 yards. Everything is customizable as you would expect it to be. Like I said, hopefully they will be getting this where you would expect to find it, so it's easy enough to change the underglow color to whatever it is that you would really want to see it as. So, without further ado, let's set up a typing test just to see what kind of audio quality we get. Alright, so first typing test is about 66 words per minute there. One thing that I immediately can tell is that these keys are very sticky. So that means wherever your finger comes down on them and plants is more or less where it's going to stay. You're not sliding off the key, and that kind of creates this weird feeling that once you've made contact there, you're not going to get a whole lot of lateral movement, which isn't the end of the world, but it is something to be mindful of, that it is going to be something that either you love or dislike immensely. So let's just do another test and see how that goes. All right, 70 words with 100% accuracy. So easily a keyboard that you could learn very, very quickly. I have to say, I do like how it feels. I wonder if the sticky feel would go down over time, honestly, probably as the keyboard gets a little dirty, because I think that would allow you to speed up just a little bit where this is almost a bit too precise. I didn't tilt the keyboard at all at this point, which might impact speed, accuracy, and a few other things. But overall, I have seen keyboards at a higher price point do an awful lot less. And if you're a person that likes this aesthetic of the bleed-through keys, I think that you'd be pretty happy with this. And then, of course, if you want, you could always just turn the backlight off and run it classic black and white. But if you were going to do that, you would probably find something else in a bit of a different price bracket. But overall, like I said, it does everything seemingly quite nicely. You have 3 different Bluetooth pair options here according to the keycaps. You can adjust brightness and a lot of the settings on the fly, lots of media keys, your main keys down the side here that you would need to use, obviously no numpad. Some of the sounds on some of the larger keys might not necessarily be up to standard based on your expectations. Pretty darn good overall. If you do have any questions about this keyboard, I will be continuing to use it throughout the weeks ahead, so leave them in the comment section down below. And if you are interested in learning more about my channel or what I might feature next, then make sure that you're hitting all of those delightful buttons at the bottom there. It really does help me an awful lot. So, with that being said, thank you much for watching, and I will see you next time.